Hey, it's Dusty Showers from Creepy Creatures Termite and Pest Control in Palm Harbor, Florida, where we service not just Palm Harbor, but Clearwater, St. Pete, and all of Pinellas County, plus West Pasco County and the West Chase area and Town and Country in Tampa, Florida. I want to talk to you about probably one of the biggest issues that we get called on, and that's rats. Now, rats live everywhere. And people always come up with excuses of why they have rats. Their neighbors were doing some construction, or they have fruit trees, or they live along the water, or they live in a field, or they live in the city. Whatever it is, wherever you live, you have rats in your neighborhood. Basically, you might not know it, but they're definitely out there. And a lot of times people will say, well, we don't see any rats. That's because rats come out at night. So during the day, you see squirrels, and squirrels are everywhere. But now just imagine nighttime, except there's more rats than there are squirrels. Now, rats need three things to survive. And we actually, let me back up. We deal with the roof rat, which is Rattus rattus. People call it a fruit rat, most commonly a citrus rat, and other little names for it, but it's a roof rat. And we really only have one rat that causes a problem here. And they need three things to live: food, water, and shelter. And basically, they can get food and water anywhere. They can get seeds off the ground. They can get water. I mean, we're in Florida. There's water everywhere. So water's not a problem. What they're looking for is shelter. And if your home has any areas where they can get in or where they can chew a hole to get into your attic, then you're going to have rats, guaranteed. Now, the thing about rats is you may have had them in the past, but you don't hear them anymore. So you think they might be gone, and they might be gone. But the thing with rats is rats drag their belly everywhere. So they leave their scent everywhere. And rats smell where other rats have been. So if you've had rats once before, guaranteed you're going to get them again. Or if you've had any other animal like a raccoon or a squirrel in the attic, so there's an opening to get in the attic, rats are going to find that opening as well. I absolutely guarantee it. So people call us, they hear noises in their attic, they hear scratching and chewing in the ceiling. They're not sure what it is. They think it might be mice. It's not mice. But then people say, well, no, they're little though. Well, that's because they're baby rats, they're young rats. But by and large, we really don't have a mouse problem here in the Pinellas County area. If you have something in your attic, it's rats. So now the next thing is, what do you do about it? Well, what we do at Creepy Creatures is we come out, we do a complete 58-point pest analysis. We find out where those rats are getting in, which is the most important thing. So we show up in a truck, it's fully lettered, and it's got ladders on it, and we intend to go into the attic if need be, and especially up on the roof. Now, if you've got somebody coming out to your house for rats and they're not going to go up onto the roof, they're not going to be able to take care of your rat problem. Almost every rat problem, with a few exceptions, comes from up on the roof. So if you're not getting up on the roof, you're not going to be able to take care of the problem. So we find out how they're getting in, and then from there, we set out traps. People always ask what kind of traps we use. We use the Victor snap traps. They're really cheap, they're inexpensive, but they are the most effective trap that we've found. We put out the traps, and then we check on those traps every 2 to 3 days. If something's in there, we get them out of there, clean out the trap, we reset them, and we do that until we're 100% sure there's nothing left in the attic. And then at that point, we can seal up the openings. We have a 1-year guarantee on it, and the guarantee is for the entire house. Some companies will just guarantee their work. So if they missed something, or if the rats chewed a new hole in the house, then you're going to end up paying again for it. So we don't want to put that on you. We cover the entire house. So if rats get back in for whatever reason, we come back out within a year, no charge, and we make sure that we get them all out and get it sealed up again. Now, the other thing that people want to know is, how much does it cost to get rid of a rat problem? Well, there's different ways to get rid of rat problems. The cheapest way by far is to just throw poison up in the attic. It's irresponsible because animals, especially rats, can take that poison, they can carry it outside, and other animals like your dog or your cat can pick up that poison, and it can do serious harm to them. So it's not a good idea to just throw poison up in the attic. Also, what poison does is it makes rats basically crawl into bed and die. And there's an old wives' tale that's 100% not true. And even people in pest control say it, where rats get thirsty after eating the poison, they go outside and they die. Unfortunately, as nice as it sounds, it doesn't work that way. Rats eat the poison, they curl up in their bed and they die, and most of the time it's up in the attic, which means you're going to smell it. And a dead rat in the attic could smell anywhere from a week to 2 weeks, sometimes even longer, especially if you kill more than one rat up there. And it's tough to get dead rats out of the attic. You might be able to get one out of the attic, but there might be more, but you don't know it because it still smells like a dead rat. You got to let that smell clear out to see if you're still smelling any others. So the bottom line is, do everything you can to avoid putting poison up in attics. And there are cases that call for it, but for the most part, do everything that you can to avoid putting any sort of poison up in the attic for rats. So check those traps, get the rats out of there, get the opening sealed up. There are some worst case scenarios, and I'll make sure to include a video, and you can see just what happens when you have a case where a sewer pipe gets broken. And this is what happens with this is you might have a house that's 30 or 40 years old and you have a bathroom remodeled, and they cut off the bathroom pipe or the toilet pipe where it goes into the wall, and then they don't seal it up, and then they put the drywall back over it, and you have an exposed pipe in the wall, and that pipe goes right down to the attic or it goes up to the roof. Either way, the pipe goes down into the sewer, either into the sewer or up it goes into the roof. And then what happens is rats come up from the sewer out that pipe, because that pipe is no longer connected where it should go from the toilet up into the ceiling and out to the roof. It now has a breach in it. So rats can not only come down from the roof through that pipe, but they can also come up through the sewer. And a lot of times these pipes are still in the wall, so they're not exposed anywhere and you can't see them. You can see in the video how it explains much better than I'm doing right now. But when that happens, it can be some cases nearly impossible to find out how they're getting in, and it's frustrating for everybody. You guys, us, nobody likes it. A lot of times the answer is to call in a plumber to do a smoke test, but sometimes that's just kicking the can down the road or giving the problem to someone else, because even a smoke test doesn't always give you the solution that you're looking for. And these are really some nightmare scenarios. However, that's really it doesn't happen that often, so I wouldn't be concerned that that's your place, unless you've already had 1 or 2 or 3 other companies out and they can't solve the problem. If they can't solve the problem, it's normally a red flag for other companies that, we're pretty good. I like to say that we're really, really good at figuring out how rats are getting in. But when we hear that 2 or 3 other companies have already been out and haven't been able to solve the problem, there's probably a pretty good reason why that is. So rats are a huge, massive problem. They do carry disease. They're just, I love rats. I love animals, so they're really dirty animals. They don't fit into our society. They're commensal rodents, so they feed off of anywhere where people are. They're not like some rats live out in the wild and they're native to wherever you live. So we have rats that are native in Florida. And they live out in the wild and they never ever cause any problems. But the rats that we have here, they're not good to have around. And if you try to live with them, the problems just get worse. Eventually they show up in the house and they'll chew on the wiring and cause all sorts of damage. But to back to what I said about the cost of it, I explained what our service entails. The cost, most houses we can cover for about $850 with the 1-year warranty. If you call around, then you'll find out that price is not astronomical. If you haven't called around, a lot of times that's sticker shock to people. They think $850 to get rid of some rats is insane. The problem is we don't know how long we're going to be coming out or how many visits we're going to be coming out to the house. And sometimes we do it in 6 visits. Sometimes you get a real booger of a job and you're out there 15 times or more, especially when you have a case with a sewer where you just keep trying and trying and trying other things. Although in the back of your mind, you know it's a sewer problem, but you have to eliminate everything else. I have no doubt you can find companies that will do it for less. The bigger companies tend to start at about $1,500. So they'll send out a fancy schmancy sales guy who's going to try to sell you termites, sell you pest control, sell you rats, sell you drywood termites, sell you lawn service. Before you know it, you're writing a $5,000 check. And we don't do that. We send out a technician who's highly trained in dealing with rats. They can explain everything to you. We don't hard sell you. We can write up an estimate. We can send it to you. you can think about it. You can call around. We really invite people to call around and see, but don't just base it on prices. Make sure if you get somebody that see the problem with rats, and I've learned this the hard way. I've been doing this for about 30 years. When you're not real busy with rats, you can price it a lot lower because you don't have that many people asking you for your service. So you can come in at maybe $500, or you can say, we'll come out on 4 visits for $250. But those people aren't happy because you can't always get it done in 4 visits. And many times you can't get it done in 4 visits. So we choose the model where we try to do most jobs for about $850. And for that, we just cover everything. We don't nickel and dime you. We don't send out a sales guy. We do the job properly. We stand behind what we do. The exceptions to that pricing are a couple things. What we really look at is how many openings there are in the house, or what does it take to get these openings sealed up. And that is really the number one thing. It doesn't matter if you have 1 rat or 100 rats. It's how many, or what does it take for us to seal up the openings. And that gets more complicated when you have a house with a crawl space that's up off the ground, because rats will come up under there. And then from there, they find pipes and other just worn out areas to come into the house. The other thing that makes it difficult is tile roofs. And some tile roofs are laid real tight and there's absolutely no problems at all with them. But many, if not most, tile roofs are laid in such a way that the rats can get underneath the tile. And then once they get underneath the tile, they run around kind of like tunnels until they find a breach into the attic. And if they can't find one, they'll just go up and they'll just start chewing on a corner underneath the tile. And you're never going to find that unless you pull up all the tiles from the roof. They do tend to be isolated, though, in areas where one roof meets another. So you have a little niche where one roof comes down and meets another, and that's almost always where rats are going to be getting in. That and the air conditioning chase that's on the outside of many houses. So I think that covers it with rats. We would love to talk to you, see if we can help you out. My name's Dusty Showers. Our company's Creepy Creatures. I invite you to check out our Google reviews. That's really the best way to find out who we really are as a company. I can tell you anything that sounds like you might want to hear, but really the best way for you to find out who we are is to check out our reviews on Google and on Facebook and on Home Advisor and Angie's List. We'd be happy to see if we're the company for you. Please call or text us at 727-488-5657.
Google Creepy Creatures Pest Control. Send bugs to bug heaven. Call 727-488-5657.